Guys, has come. The time has come. What everybody's been waiting for. It's the test series against England. Now, it's the test leg of this UK tour. South Africa had a pretty good tour so far, you have to say. I think a lot of South African fans would be really happy with the performances in the white ball game. Unfortunately, we didn't get that over the line in the ODI format. But now we've got the test format and everybody's favorite format, I'm hoping. At least on this channel, I hope everybody's favorite format. So let's get into today's preview. It's going to be a preview of the first game at Lord's. Massive game. I've put together some stats. I've put together some things to show it from a South African perspective. But we also got a special guest. Don't worry, we'll get a balanced view over here, of course, because we'll get an England side as well as a South African side over here. We've got Aaron with us. So he'll be chatting to us about the England side of things, but also he'll tap into his actually true love in that South Africa as well. So let's get into this particular video. Don't forget to obviously subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell, do all of those things, but also download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. You can also become a patron today by clicking on the link in the description as well to help us grow South African cricket and to help us promote South African cricket. So get involved with that. Also, go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all updates as well. I put together a little document, or I would say a little article, with you answering what your favorite moments were from a South African performance perspective at Lords. It's a tweet that we did put up, so go ahead and put your options there. We put that embedded it on the website so people can look at what you guys had to say about it, and also be a little bit more engaged with regards to that. But without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Looking forward to chatting to all of you about this. A lot to cover, guys, so let's get straight into it. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host, Khalid Maiden. This is Aaron, my co-host, and today we're going to be discussing the test series between South Africa and England. I made this thumbnail the battle of you could say, the styles or the battle of the approaches going forward into this. You guys can let me know a little bit later after myself and Aaron talk about this and give you all the information that we have available. We can maybe go through the Boucher press conference together and see what he had to say as well. I'd like to do a watch along with it and talk along. So, Aaron, you can let me know a little later if you want to do that with me. We're dependable on your availability and time that you have with us today. But let's get into this straight away. Let's just start first and foremost with a couple of slides that I have put together. We'll start off with the record between South Africa and England at Lords. Now, it's pretty cool in South Africa's favor, I would say, post isolation. So when we're talking about pre, then obviously it's going to be different. But between 1907 and 2017, out of 20 matches played, South Africa have won 6, lost 10, drew 4. But post isolation, you could say 1994 to 2017, South Africa have come out on top in those periods. So 6 matches, 4-1, 1 loss. That was when Alga was actually captain in 2017. I think it was when I think Faf du Plessis' wife gave birth, and he had to miss that tour, and then England got a lucky win there, and then a draw. We've broke it down for you guys over here too. The games at Lords, you can see quite some hefty deficits over here. They lost England, where they did lose. They lost badly. So I'm hoping that things turn around this time around. Just having a little laugh, putting it out there, because it's going to be a very tough series, and I think it's going to be a very interesting one. We've already had some sparks flying between the two. Like, let's start with this, Aaron, and your thoughts on this particular quotes that came out recently.
There they are.
So we've got Sam Billings obviously talking, which we spoke about on the show yesterday. We did give you guys this graphic, but we've got a response, not a response. This actually happened before this took place, When they asked Dean Alga about it, specifically about this in the previous press conference, he said, I've got absolutely no interest in the style that they've played. I think it can go one of two ways for them. And it can go South Africa very quickly, or it can go south if very quickly. Sorry, I'm put words in his mouth. Talking about it is a waste of energy. Their own coach doesn't even like the slogan they've come up with. I'd like to see them do that against our Seamers. Now, that's a continuation of what many people have said from a South African perspective. I've heard Andy Nokia come out and say that I wish they could do this against our Seamers. I've heard
Hmm.
Rassi Madison say this. Now heard Dean Alga say it. And I've also heard Mark Boucher also murmur it. So where do you come from on that, Alan? And this little scuffle that's happened between, you could say, the two nations currently.
Well, it's all part of the fun, isn't it, really? Before the test series, the handbags have been drawn by both sets of players and coaching staff. And it is interesting, isn't it, really, that Dean Algar would say that pretty much in the wake of a pretty convincing defeat to the England Lions, it has to be said, where Bazball, whether you like the term or not, I know Brendan McCullum himself doesn't particularly like it, but that style, that philosophy is allowing England to win matches again. So I think it's all tongue in cheek, to be honest. I don't think it's any actual real animosity between the two sides. But I think deep down, Dean Elgar and the rest of that South Africa side, Mark Boucher, the coach as well, probably will have seen this England side over the course of the summer of 2022 and just been put on watch a little bit. Whether they're going to admit it or not, this is no longer the England side which was getting hammered time and time and time again in 2021. This is an England side with a renewed hope, a new sense of optimism, energy, and they've got that word which I love saying on this channel, a new style. They actually have a methodology, they have principles which allow them to win games of cricket. So, yeah, I think it's game on for this series. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think we're in for an absolute box office blockbuster, whatever you want to describe it as, to be honest, over the course of these next few weeks. And I know it's very cliche, but may the best side win. And fingers crossed for us as England fans, that is the 3 lions and a crown.
So where do you stand then with the style? I mean, it's obviously a new approach, a new style people are talking about, and it's exciting. But from your perspective, I mean, we know you're a purist of the game as well. You really enjoy Test cricket and the longer format. So where do you stand on this as an England fan with this new style? Do you feel that going is it has it been like that? Has it been a guns ho type of style where they just do go for it, or do you see them also adapt if the conditions don't suit it, or do you believe that the style of cricket can be conducive no matter what the conditions are?
I can't answer that just yet because we are only 2 series in to Bazball as a philosophy. But what I will say is that the philosophy and the approach itself is genius from England. It is absolute genius because this test side at the moment, it has got this mix of youth and experience, but in comparison to better test teams, the likes of India, New Zealand, you can argue on form South Africa would be up there as well. This philosophy, by going so hard, so quickly, and so ferociously, actually bridges the gap in quality. I think there are much better sides in Test cricket at the moment than England. But by having this proactive approach, this brand new philosophy to Test cricket, which not many teams are playing, I think it's working in England's favour quite brilliantly. And the other thing which I think has to be said really is that this side lost series after series after series. We hit rock bottom in 2021. Even if this approach fails catastrophically, it can't be worse than what we saw last year, which was overly defensive, overly conservative cricket to the point where we were actually damaging our chances of winning with both the bats and the ball in hand. So I'm all for Bazball. Look, at times it's going to pay off, other times it's going to backfire spectacularly. But it's all about bridging that gap and maximising England's chances of winning games of Test cricket. So for that reason, I'm all for it.
Is there a specific player that you maybe think um, is the key
Bairstow.
figure with regards to Bairstow?
Bairstow, 100%. And I'm talking about all series now because Johnny Bairstow is a magician when it comes to playing spin as well. In that middle order, he can hit a quick 500. He did it in the Ashes. He's done it over the course of this summer as well against India at Edgbaston. Goodness me. Johnny Bairstow really is the linchpin of that England batting lineup at the moment. He seems unstoppable in Test match cricket. So I'll go Bairstow. Obviously, Roots, I don't think we have as much need for his runs right now. There's not so much dependency in comparison to 2021. But at the same time, he does need to score some runs. But the real thing in this series, for me personally, will be the openers. Zach Crawley is walking on very, very thin ice at the moment. Yes, he can play a very, very nice cover drive, which is incredibly aesthetically pleasing and gets us up in arms as fans, but you've got to score runs and you've got to face deliveries. He's got to make it easier for the likes of Joe Root, Johnny Bairstow, Ben Stokes, Ben Folkes in that middle order. So it's a big series for England with the bat in hand. I do think Bairstow will be the key player for South Africa to get out. But as I said, Zach Crawley is someone who I'll be keeping very, very close tabs on in this series, because if he doesn't perform, this could well be his last series for a long time in an England shirt.
Yeah, I'm gonna attempt this now live on the show, but Lorenzo has something to say to you. He says, kyk, hy kom nogal steek deur. Hulle soek weer verskonings as hulle pak vat. How you can translate that? So basically what he's saying is you coming strong to the table here with confidence, and you looking again for excuses if you guys lose again. Or
Hang on, lose again. I just
well,
want
not
to
again.
ask...
It didn't say again, to be honest. It just says when you guys do get
No, but just to go back onto those stats earlier, Harley, the loaded stats, as I call them, because you only showed games that South Africa won. May I just say, okay, or remind you, there they are, the infamous stats. Yes, rub it in, why don't you?
Let me just get this comment away first.
But may I just say, Harley, or may I just remind you of the victors of the last 3 Test series, both home and away, might I just add. In my lifetime, England have never lost a Test series in South Africa, and I'm 21 at the moment. Who has won the last 3 Test series between these two sides?
We know that, and that is a big.
I want to hear it. I want to hear the name.
And we know that's a big problem with South
England?
Africa, because England is brilliant, and that's my worry. Before, when you guys came down here, you guys were heavily reliant on Joe Root. We cannot deny that over the last couple of years, you could say that to a degree.
100%.
But this new style has kind of taken the pressure off him, I feel, because he can go about doing his own business. He can go about his own game, and whoever's going to be on the other end will probably be the more attacking guy. And he can basically anchor entire innings because he doesn't bat slow himself, but I'm just saying he could possibly anchor entire innings. And yes, you spoke about the openers, and I want to get into that because it's very important that we speak about that. South Africa, to a degree as well, I think both of our openers are on thin ice, in my opinion.
Even
Dean Elgar is the captain. Dean Elgar is the captain.
Really? You think he's on thin ice?
When I say thin ice, I mean he needs to start scoring big hundreds now for South Africa again. That's something that he hasn't been doing for a while for South Africa. He's been getting good 50s, and also he needs to make sure that he can be the main figure in that opening partnership, because he hasn't necessarily had a very good opening partner in a very long time that has opened up and scored massive runs for South Africa. South Africa used to be great in these games, in these test matches, because of that opening partnerships that we've had. Graeme Smith had many good opening partnerships, and if you look at some of the highest scores from South Africa's on this particular ground, if I can just pick it up over here, the most amount, this is the most runs scored, but the highest score over here, like for example, this 259 that a lot of people speak about with regards to Graeme Smith. Having an opening partner is very, very important. And you can see there's quite a few opening batters on this list. You've got Graeme Smith over here. From our time, I'm going to talk about more Neil McKenzie. And obviously, you've got Gary Kirsten, Kepler Wessels, and those type of guys. A lot of openers on the list. England is very important. I feel that when you, if you can survive that new ball in England, and this is where I need your help, because to talk about a little bit about the conditions. Mm-hmm. Now, besides the fact that, where is that graphic? I have it here somewhere. Let me just get it up. I did put it together, did I not? Okay, so never mind. But from a weather perspective,
yes, it's not looking great. Can we
talk about that? Yeah, let me just add this quickly so I can just throw. This was posted in our group earlier on. So I'm just going to add it. Look, where the hell is this thing now?
Hopefully, both England and South Africa are better prepared than this for the first test.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I mean, this was posted in the group earlier on. This is how it's looking so far. Looks like it's going to rain on Wednesday, on Friday, on Sunday. So, can you give us some insight into the weather conditions? Of course, what you've heard as well, in England as well, because you probably get different messages your side than we do here. So, what is your thoughts on what's going to happen in this test with regards to weather? Are you worried that it's going to get really
Yeah.
messed up
To,
this
to be
first test?
to be honest, having looked at the Met Office, which is our go-to one here in England, either that or the BBC, yeah, it's not looking great, to be honest, for 3 of the 5 days. Fingers crossed that it doesn't rain, because I love this series. I love England versus South Africa, right? And I know we're going to get heated on this channel over the course of these next few weeks, but it's all love, all right? It's all banter. But I love these series. It brings out the best in both of these teams, and it's a fantastic way to end this summer. But unfortunately, it does look as though the first test will be weather affected. The other thing as well, even when it's not raining, there will be a lot of cloud cover. So, as we all know, England, Duke's ball, it's going to be tremendously difficult for those both sets of openers to score big. If either side can generate a solid foundation at Lords in that first innings, they've got a very good chance of winning. But that is a lot easier said than done. So the weather will definitely play a part. Fingers crossed it doesn't play too much of a part for the rest of the series, although we do have the second test at Old Trafford in late August, September, where the weather isn't great. So fingers crossed that also isn't rain affected. But I think in terms of this particular first test, at least the reports I've seen, yeah, we could be in for a rain affected game. Whether or not it'll be a draw, who knows? Again, both sides will have to
Yeah.
play their respective games and we'll see what the result will be. But yeah, the weather does look a little bit dodgy, shall we say, for the first test.
Yeah, because I mean, the main worry for me, or not the main worry, but the main factor for me would have been these heat waves that you guys have been getting with obviously the weather's been crazy in England over it's basically record levels.
Yeah, it has.
So
Yeah.
I was a bit worried about how that would affect pitches and conditions, especially in England, because I mean, South Africa is also going to rely on that new ball doing bits, especially if they select the likes of Andrik Nokia, they select the likes of Lungingidi. If KG's fit, of course, that's going to be the big question. So far, Boucher seems to be quite happy that KG's fit enough. So it seems like they have brought him to good fitness leading into this. He said that he's looking quite good. That was the last thing that he said in the recent press conference. But I think that if it was probably the swing actually helps South Africa's style of cricket, I think maybe a little bit more than you guys.
Go
I
on.
think I think if it's overhead conditions and the ball's moving around, can you guys come up to the blocks flying?
Well, probably not with the openers. That's a very good
Yeah,
point. And again, this will be a massive test for this England side. This South Africa
yeah.
attack are one of the best on the planet, without a
Hmm.
shadow of a doubt. And we'll talk about the dynamics of that South Africa bowling and batting lineup, I imagine,
Yeah.
as the show progresses. But I do think for England, it'll be interesting to see how Zach Crawley and Alex Lees do set
Yeah.
up shop. Lees has been the more aggressive one in this summer, which has been very interesting. Again, that might be because of Zach Crawley's lean patch in Test cricket, but it is a good point. Can England replicate it against the Proteas? Who knows? Only time will tell. But with this renewed confidence, the hope, the optimism, I do think they'll give it a good go.
Hmm. Okay, so let's start to talk a little bit about team dynamics, of course, and what you're
Yes.
going to do from a team side. I've been in favor if everybody's fit for South Africa, like if all three of our main seamers are fit. I'm happy to give it a go at trying a 7-4 split for South Africa. And I know a lot of people might not be maybe agree. I've seen quite a few fans actually agree with me that we have a little bit of an issue with that batting lineup. We're not 100% confident with that top order. We aren't, even though we have Keegan Peterson that has been in good form recently. A lot of our players, especially our top order, haven't played cricket in a long time, and that was one of the I wouldn't say excuses, but the reasons that Boucher gave for why we maybe didn't win that game against the Lions and got dominated so badly that he wanted to try a couple of things, he said, in this particular warm-up game. In fact, if I look at this particular press conference, I don't know if you want to watch it with me. It's about 15 minutes. If you want to go through it with me,
Holly,
but
let's
let me
go
know. We
for
can
it.
skim through it. Let's go
Let's
for
go
it.
for
Okay,
it.
cool. Let's go for it. There's quite a few things that's interesting, and you're also going to see with regards to Mark, his demeanor is different. It's not the same Mark Boucher as we usually see. So, like, I saw a lot of smiles from Mark Boucher. I saw a lot of a different Mark Boucher over here. So let's go through it and see what he had to say, because it's a nice preview actually to get some quotes in here as well for what he's thinking as a coach. So let's get into it.
That we've got so many guys without test experience in England. What kind of cricket do you want them to play? And have you given it a name or a style, or can you describe it to us?
No, I don't think we've given it a name. I know that they've given it a name over here, but we believe that we've been playing a nice brand of cricket. We've had some tight series where we've come out on top of late, and nothing sort of changes for us. We've got our processes that we will go through in order to try to get the results going our way. I've always said that we like to be nice and smart. We want to play aggressive cricket, but you've got to be smart with regards to that as well. And nothing will change for us. I know this is a England versus South Africa series, and there's always a lot of hype in the media. There's a lot of things that get said. Bottom line is, this game is between bat and ball, and you've got to make smart decisions at certain times of a game. And we are focused on trying to do that from our side. And England will probably do the same. They've got their brand that they want to play, which is perfect. We've got to try and match it on the day and try and find ways to negate that.
You know what's funny about that, Aaron? I'm going to stop it at certain points if you're okay with that. To just
course.
discuss what has been said. Mark and whatever, the smart cricket bunch that we talk about, that came from England. Because I remember sitting in the press conference when Owen Morgan spoke about he wants to play smart, aggressive cricket. So it's crazy that we have now kind of adapted this and said, oh no, we want to play the smart cricket. It's like us against England, and want to play this baseball. But yet we got that narrative or that idea from England and from Owen Morgan. I think that's what I remember it as. So it's crazy that we've kind of coined it as our smart cricket, and you guys have this attacking cricket, but it's ultimately comes from the same philosophies. So you're hearing the coach saying this, and what he said about it. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I think it's a well-measured answer, to be honest. It is bat versus ball at the end of the day. It doesn't really matter about the clash of philosophies and clash of approaches. You've got to execute at the end of the day. And South Africa definitely have got the offensive weaponry to win this series, in particular in the bowling department. The only thing which I would question, and Harlid, I know we're going to talk about this as the show progresses, and we'll have people's thoughts in the comments as well. But that South African batting lineup, the dynamics of that and the balance will be the real key factor of this series, won't it? They've got to strike that balance nice and quickly, nice and early on. Whether that means by winning a game at Lords and, taking a 1-0 lead in the series, that's another question. That's going to take a lot to do against this very confident England side. But will they go with an out-and-out top six, then go with a spinner, Janssen and Seamers? Or will they go your direction, your school of thinking, the 7-4, which would be a little bit more of a risk, but you have got that extra safety cushion, haven't you, of the extra batsmen in these conditions? So, yeah, it will be interesting.
Yeah, it will be. And another thing that would be interesting too is dependable on what the track is like. Playing to spinners could also be an option, because I know Boucher's thinking about it. They must be thinking about it. Having Simon Harmer in your team is a massive weapon to have, especially with his record in county cricket.
Well, can I just talk about that for 1 second when it comes to Simon Harmer? He joined Essex in 2017, and he has been their leading wicket taker in first-class cricket every single season since. He's currently the third leading wicket taker in this year's county championship. Between 2018 and 2021 as well, he was also the leading wicket taker in all of English domestic cricket in the first-class arena. So Simon Harmer, okay, he might not have played loads of test matches. I think he's 7 test matches into his career. I think averages around about 23. There is a massive pull factor for having this guy in the team. He knows the conditions. If you look at Maharaj's average in England as well, it's not great. In fact, it's the second worst test average that Kesha Maharaj has in any form of Test crickets. Okay, England 36.25 is his bowling average. It's his second worst. The only country which he does worse against is India. So there is a lot of, what I say, as I said, pulling factors. Maybe some certain pulls and attractions which might make them go with Simon Harmer. I'm not saying they'll choose him over Maharaj, but in this series, in particular in Old Trafford, if the weather is decent, and admittedly big if, and if the pitch is turning a little bit, which Old Trafford is known to do, in fact, it's got the highest degree of spin out of any of the English Test grounds, Simon Harmer could be a very viable option for the Proteas in this Test series.
And I think that's the thing for me. It's a squad. It's about picking players for the right conditions. If like for me, I don't care if they pick Maharaj or they pick Simon Harmer, which one they go with. My thing is about picking the right person and to make the right decisions. Now it's difficult for me to pick. This is the first time ever that I've struggled to pick a Test team because I'm sitting on that 7. Because 6, I like a 6-5. Me personally, I want my batters to do their best and then have an all-round at 7. That's what I like personally. But with South Africa's current struggles, I'm worried about their top 3, and not because of form, more because of lack of playing time. Keegan Peterson is in form. When you're talking about him from a form perspective in Test cricket, he's in form. But the amount of time he hasn't played cricket, I mean, the Lions was his first game in a very, very long time. So not playing any cricket, not playing any long form of cricket can be a problem. I mean, you guys are quite, I would say, you guys are fresher when it comes to playing red ball cricket at the moment than South Africa. And that's my worry. Because the core group and the most important group of this team and South Africa's team are those specialist Test players like Cyril Irvia, like Dean Elgar, like not Simon Harmer, you could say to an extent, because he hasn't really been picked in other teams, but the Test specific, Keegan Peterson, of course, as well. Those are the key players in this match because they're going to give us the best start, and maybe luckily or unluckily, they're all at the top of the order. So top 3 is like, so we need our top 3 to fire here, I feel, because I don't think, because I feel at the moment that Aiden at 4 is kind of being settled, given the what he's shown with the ball, and the fact that he performed with the bat recently in the warm up. I think that's the direction they're going for, that number 4 spot, and then perhaps Rassie van der Dussen at 5, and then at 6 Calvarena. It's that 7 position that is a bit of a worry for me, because
That's interesting you say that.
Why?
Is Ryan Rickleton not in the mix?
No, so I'm saying if you're going to go with a 6 batter split, Calvarena is your keeper in the team. He's replaced Quinny as the keeper in the team. So Brian's supposed to be the backup keeper in the team. So I think they go with Carl ahead of Ryan. That's the crazy thing about this. If you add in Rassie, it's between Rassie and Ryan Rickleton for me personally for that number 5 spot.
If that is the case, who would you go with, Harlid? And I'll throw some stats out there from my podcast.
Me personally, I'll go with Ryan Rickleton.
Okay, fair enough. Do you want to know why I mentioned him?
County.
Yeah, 4 matches for Northants in Division 1, so the top tier of English cricket, 539 runs, 2 centuries, and an average of 77. So Rickleton, I mean, for me, he's got to be in the side. He has to.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to get into our teams at the end, because I want Werner to give his team. I want you to give your team as well, Aaron, at the end of the show. But let's get through this presser as quick as possible.
That was going back to 2008. I think it was the last time there was as an inexperienced an attack, and it was Dale, Mornay, and I don't know, I think maybe it was Mackay's first time here at Lords as well, and they all admitted that they had been intimidated by the occasion in the venue, and they bowled poorly. What can you do to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Yeah, we spoke about it. I think that's the first thing that's moving in the right direction. We've got a nice environment where we're pretty open and honest about certain things, certain emotions, certain feelings that the players might be going through, and that's something that we have addressed. I don't see it as something that's a negative. I think it's a great environment to play cricket. Coming to the home of cricket, Lords is a special place to play cricket, a great occasion. This is where legends are made. We walk into the change room, you see all the names on the board. There's so many stories around those performances. So it shouldn't be a fear factor. It's just about us as coaches and as a coaching staff trying to give guys certain tools to deal with the pressures and emotions that you're going to feel in the morning. You can't hide from that. They're going to be there. It's a great feeling, especially if you can overcome that and do well. So yeah, it is something that we've definitely addressed, and hopefully the guys can use the tools that we've provided and come out on top.
I guess you had a bit of a taste last week of the brand that must not be named down in Canterbury. And some of the players spoke about the discussions that you were having about not getting sucked in by that. Can you sort of explain what have you been sort of saying to the players about that kind of thing specifically?
Not much, to be honest with you. I mean, the warm-up game that we played down in Canterbury, it was exactly that. It was a warm-up game for us. So we had certain things we wanted to get out of the game, and we believe we got out the game. You know, the result didn't go our way, which, you know, is never great losing. But we're not looking too much into the way that they play. It's more about focusing on what we need to do to get ready for a test series. So, you know, we lost the first game against the Lions in the one-day stuff as well, and we came out pretty good after that. So hopefully that's a good omen for us, and we can change things around.
But that not getting sucked in, sorry, just following up, that not getting sucked in, was that just specific then to last week's game, or a more general thing about the way that England were playing?
No, I think it's a more general thing. I mean, I was asked the question right at the beginning of the tour, you know, what do we think about the way that they're playing? And I actually said, you know, I watched it on TV, and it's quite exciting. It's you know, exciting brand of cricket. You know, you need to have a couple of things that are encouraging you to play that way. The conditions, it's been dry here, so you know the guys have really taken advantage. And you also need to have the players, and they believe that they've got the players to play that way. But yeah, as I said, this is all just talk in the media. You know, come Wednesday, it's about bat and ball and about playing situations smart. That the game sort of gives to you, and that's exactly what we're looking to do. If we get into a situation where we're on top, we hopefully drive that advantage home, and if they get on top, then hopefully we can try and negate that and find a way to switch a momentum.
So if you guys just want to say anything, you want me to stop, just put up your finger, and I'll if you want to say anything. But so far so good, I think. Everything that we spoke about earlier, Aaron.
In 2012, you were taken out of the equation in an awful fashion. I understand coaching is a selfless business and that cricketers look ahead, not behind. But do you come here now as a coach with any kind of hopes to rekindle what happened for the team in 2012?
No, not really. I was pretty satisfied with what I got out of that tour. Even though I wasn't on the tour, I was pretty well looked after by teammates and the management at that stage. So, you know, me moving into a coach is a completely different sort of road for me, and I'm on a journey with these guys that, you know, over the last 2-3 years it's been challenging, but I've really enjoyed working with the players, and for me this is just a part of their journey. Coaches come and go, management come and go. These guys will hopefully outlive coaches and probably more coaches to come as well. It's about their journey, and I'm just privileged to be a part of that.
Wickets in any positions, are they right?
If they're saying that, they probably believe that they're right. As I said, it's our job to try and stop them from doing it. And if we can do that with whatever style we want to play, then hopefully we can do that. You know, it's not a conversation about me thinking about England. It's a conversation about me talking about what we can get out of our players and prepare them as best we can to hopefully, you know, be on top of the game rather than behind.
In terms of your own players, I mean, I think traditionalists in this country would love to feel that a South African test team would come to Lords and think, this is the pinnacle, this is really what we've set our hearts. There are so many alternative attractions to young cricketers these days around the world. Do you genuinely believe that is still in the hearts of your players, that it means as much as it would have done 20, 30 years ago?
I think you only had to be around when the guys arrived and walked into the museum. We were very privileged to have a trip through the museum, and all the players just staring in awe of what was around them. So just watching the players' reaction to walking into Lords, there's a lot of passion. Emotions are running high in a good way. So as a coach, you don't really have to try and get the boys all G'd up for a game like this. I think that's already there, and So I think the youngsters around here, they want to be here and they want to perform at this ground. They want to be a part of hopefully creating something special and becoming legends of the game, like a lot of the cricketers in the past have been.
You know, I love that. And it's good that he's saying that he doesn't necessarily have to G them up and get them excited, but I hope he does still, either regardless of that. I hope he does still try to motivate them even more because sometimes I know you can take that for granted. You think that you can be self-motivated, but sports people, they're not always very self-motivated. I always thought that putting on the Man United shirt is going to inspire you to play for Man United. But if you look at these players,
I
playing
knew that
against
that would
Liverpool.
somehow come to Manchester United. How have you done that? In an England versus South Africa Test series? That's incredibly impressive, Harley. Fair play.
Because this man is talking about they are walking through the museum and they have passion and they're looking around and they are already motivated. Not enough. I think they need to motivate themselves properly. They need to really be focused for this game. They need to be on their A game. We can't have a slow start here. I don't want that from South Africa.
Well, firstly, from an injury point of view, do you think Kagiso will be ready to go on Wednesday?
Yeah, I hope so. He's come on well. I think the one concern is always maybe his loads. But he seems to have, I mean, he's a great athlete. So his body seems to have recovered nicely. He's not feeling too much pain. He'll have probably his final test today to find out how he's going. But I'm hoping that he pulls through. He's a massive player for us, as we all know. So for him to be a part of the final 11 will be very special for us.
Key.
What is the best way to try and counter this new start from England? Because it seemed against New Zealand and against India, when the momentum was with England, they seemed really difficult to stop.
I don't know. I'll tell you on the day. As I said, I mean, we don't know. We've got to be adaptable in Test cricket. So we don't know what conditions are going to be like overhead, underfoot. It's just about finding a way to try and stop the momentum with them, and maybe try change it. I think our fielding is going to be important, as we've seen in the recent past. When you do get opportunities, you've got to take them. I think that's just in general in Test cricket now, with the introduction of white ball cricket, T20s especially. Batters are scoring all around the ground, and they're brave enough to take a game on when they see a moment, and try to take a game away from the opposition team. So when you do get opportunities, you've got to try and hang on to them. So we'll be putting a lot of emphasis on that as well.
Do you expect England to bowl first if they win the toss, whatever the conditions are?
I don't know. I'm not privy to their conversations. Maybe I'll have a beer with Baz later and ask him what he would like to do.
Does that sort of have an effect on your team selection, for instance? Are you more tempted to play?
No, not at all. Not at all. As I said, we play the conditions. If we don't know what it's going to be like, a bit of rain around, so look at that on the day and make a decision on the morning, as they will probably do as well.
Do you think Palmer comes into the equation with his English experience?
Absolutely. Do you think he comes into the equation? There we go. There's your answer.
We're going to take one more from the floor.
There you got your answer, Ulumazai.
Just ask with follow-ups. We'll just make our way through everyone first before we go to the follow-ups. Thanks for that.
Boucher, can I just ask you, you spoke a little bit about the guys walking into the museum and the sense around that. Can you tell us a bit more about, these are such young players, who was particularly affected, or just what have they said, and what's the vibe like around this field?
No, look, I think it's not much is said. I mean, we spoke about coming to Lords and the feeling of walking through the gates, and that emotion of you're playing at the home of cricket, and it is a different feeling when you walk through those gates compared to any other gate in the world. Not to say that any other ground is not as special, but there is an extra sense of a specialness when you walk into Lords. So the guys walk through the museum. They're, as you say, a lot of the youngsters, guys have been here before, are probably still looking around, still looking at W.G. Grace's gloves and going, don't know if I could wear those today. But a lot of the youngsters were walking around having a look at certain things. They put in a nice little South African section for us as well. So we've been successful here as well, so hopefully we can look at that, and their memories hopefully to be created at this venue. So they would like to be a part of those memories created. So yeah, as I said, it's a nice position for me as coach to be in, because as I said, you don't have to get the boys worked up for this game. I think naturally they're going to be there.
Thanks. We'll go online.
Test series?
Learn how to fetch the ball. Yeah, Ken, it was a difficult one because I think the wicket was pretty flat. Yeah, I wouldn't say there was a lot of learning because, from a bowling sense, it was quite tough. As I said, we had certain things that we wanted to try get out of the game, and spending time on the feet, having a good ball out in the middle. That was something that we did achieve. The learnings, we've got quite a few guys who have been playing in county cricket that could bring us some good advice on the way that the pitches are playing. So we knew that before the game. I think the best thing for us is that we come out of a off season at the moment, so the guys are all a bit rusty. So just for them to get out in the middle and have a bit of cricket, I think was good. And that's why we weren't too phased about the result, because the English Lion guys are slap bang in the middle of a season, and it was always going to be tough for our guys to come out of a winter, no game time, and perform straight away. So I think we respect that, and there certainly was no panic from our side.
Thanks, Ken, Johan, Amir, and then we're going to round off with Mark.
Hi, Mark. Was there any talks of the ECB about the quality of the Duke's ball? There was some problems earlier this summer.
I'll let the players do that moaning. I know that there was some sort of talk about the ball that wasn't swinging or something like that. But to be fair, I mean, whatever ball we get, England are going to they're going to get the same ball, and we've got to make it talk, and they're probably thinking the same. So we're not reading too much into that.
Thanks, Johan. Amir, then Mark.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Coach, just looking at the bowling attack, we've obviously lost one who comes with a lot of experience, having played county cricket. Kagiso's also a doubt. You said that he's undergoing some final fitness tests. Just talk to us about the current bowlers that you do have. Are you happy with the workloads that they've put in? And do you believe that they, have the fire within them to, put up a fight against this talented English batting?
Yeah, obviously Duan was very unlucky, and it was quite sad to see him leave the tour. But what the squad is. We've got our guys who are pretty much in those positions at the moment, and I don't see that changing too much without giving anything away. But yeah, I think we're in a good space as bowlers, and we do believe that we can pick up 20 wickets in a test match. We've shown in the past against other teams we can, and this should be no different.
Thanks, Amir. And lastly, Mark.
Mark, we've been reading about this heat wave in the UK. They're a little bit sceptical about how the heat wave in the UK really is. But is there any potential impact on the pitches there, or on the pitch this week there, because of this heat wave?
Around the country, I think it certainly has played a role. The wickets that we've been to have turned quite a bit, and they've been quite slow. I mean, I've certainly seen on the golf courses as well that they're very hard and there's not much green grass around. But coming to Lords, they've obviously got a lot of water here because it's green, and the wicket looks like it's got a bit of grass on as well. So we are still 2 days out, so we'll have a look at that in the morning of the game and make certain decisions with regards to our lineup. But yes, to answer your question, I think that the sun has played a role in probably flattening out the wickets, and maybe towards the back end of the tour, you might see a bit of turn coming through.
Okay. Werner, let's get your thoughts. You've been here quietly for 15 minutes now. We obviously listened to Mark Boucher and what he had to say. A very cheerful Mark Boucher, very different Mark Boucher to what we normally used to in press conferences, actually. So your thoughts on this, and you feel South Africa... I mean, obviously we heard from Aaron that there might be some rain, so that's a bit unfortunate. But if we do get a 5-day test match, how do you think South Africa go about winning this game? What are the key factors for you in this particular test match where you feel South Africa can have the edge over England?
Hi guys. It's very chirpy Mark Boucher today. It's good to see. I think he has quite a weight off his shoulders these days after everything that happened. So I think he's feeling a lot lighter, just enjoying his coaching and his interaction with the media. I think the series is it's going to go down to how well South Africa can bat from a Proteas standpoint. I think our bowlers, obviously, they're going to have to combat the way that England approach things. But I think if you bowl well for long enough in good areas with the right field placings and you take your chances, you should be okay. I think what happened against New Zealand and India is the pitches were pretty flat come the last day chasing those scores. I mean, obviously they batted very well, and I think they had a prime informed Johnny Bairstow and Joe Root, and that helps a lot when you have two stalwarts who really are in form. That makes a big difference. But I think if we do bowl well enough for long enough, and we don't drop catches like New Zealand and India did, giving those guys chances, then I think we will be well in the game. But I think it's going to come down to how well we bat, because our batting lineup has been quite brittle, and we've gotten away with it a lot of the time because our bowlers sort of got us out of a hole, and we played on a lot of lively wickets as well. But if the wickets are quite flat in England in this series, it might make things a bit more difficult for us. But that's when the batters need to cash in, and I think that it's going to have to start at the top. Obviously, Algar and Arvi is going to have to try and lay a platform with Keegan Peterson, and I think that if they do manage to do that, and Aiden Markram does get a spot in the 11, and we'll see if he does or does not. Um, then hopefully he can take a bit more of a proactive type of approach in the middle order. That's what I've been talking about for a while now, that he's now not opening anymore. So if they can shield him from that new ball, and he can come in with a good platform laid, he might be a different type of batter in the test format. If the ball's not moving around that much anymore, he can play a more attacking brand of cricket, and not be as conservative or tentative. I think I did speak of a tentative Aiden doesn't really help us. But if he plays his natural stroke playing game, coming in when the ball's already lost its shine, it can really make a difference. So I think it's going to be crucial how we lay a platform at the top of the bat. And it's going to be interesting to see how we go with the spin. If they are going to play only Keshav, are they going to play Keshav and Harmer? Maybe dependent on the conditions. They might not do it at Lords, but they might play it on slightly flatter wickets. So it'll be interesting how they balance the side. Do they go with the 7 batters and 4 bowlers to try and beef up that batting lineup that has struggled a bit? Or are they going to risk it and play Janssen at 7, who's not really an out-and-out all-rounder, which will also be a risk? So a lot of things to consider.
So Aaron, if you look at our batting lineup, South Africa's batting lineup, because I know Boucher said it in his presser now about adaptable, smart cricket, whatever the case may be. My concern is that the opening partnership isn't adaptable. They play their cricket the way they play their cricket, and no matter what conditions it is, no matter how flat the track is, they tend to be similar with their approach. Algo's still going to get his massive, crazy 20 strike rate innings. So, like, when I'm talking about this, I'm obviously exaggerating, of course, but I mean, when I look at Cyril Earwe's game, I know he tried something different against the Lions in his second innings. He came out with a little bit more vigor and a little bit more proactiveness and thought process from that perspective. But when it comes to Dean Alga, I don't see him being able to maybe adapt his game, even though I did see him try and bat a little quicker against, I think it was against Bangladesh. He tried to play a little bit quicker, and to speed up his game a little bit, but maybe not coming off as he'd hoped. But when you look at that specifically, I don't think that's going to be adaptable. So I feel you guys would be very prepared for the two of them, knowing what you're going to get from them. But if you look at the rest of the batters, for you, who are you most worried about, and how are you going to stop us?
Oh, that's a great question. To be honest, I'm a little bit worried about Dean Elgar, because I really don't want to use the word. It's so overused when we talk about Dean Elgar's batting, but he's gritty, isn't he? He's got a great deal of fortitude. He's a stoic stalwart of that South African top order. If he can dig in, entrench himself, and lay that foundation South Africa can get some big scores, and if they get some big scores, they've got the bowlers to win this series. So I am very, very wary of Dean Elgar going big in this series. It'll be very tough. But if he can do that, South Africa will fancy their chances. In terms of other players in that South African batting lineup, I would go more towards a middle order. I don't know how the Proteas are actively going to set about this because we've already expanded upon all the options. Are they going to go with Rassie or Markram? Could Rickleton slot in? You mentioned Verreynne will play. I mean, he's another one, a very, very handy and capable batter in that middle order. So I think for me, it'd be Elgar and 4 and 5. I don't know who South Africa are going to select. I'm guessing by your little piece earlier, Harley, you'd go Markram and Van der Dusen, I think, if I read that correctly. Who'd you go with at 5?
I would actually go with Ryan Rickleton, to be honest. I've said it on previous shows too that I like Ryan Rickleton because of the proactive style of cricket that he wants to play, and I think that it's the right time to have a young, proactive type of cricketer that plays this fearless brand of cricket. I prefer having that as well in the middle order because that middle order can quickly become stale. When Temba comes back, etc., you've got then basically two slower type of mentality batters at the bottom of the order with Calverine and Temba Bavuma. They kind of are the guys that stick there and save you in test matches. Whereas I feel that Ryan will take the attack similarly, maybe to Besto, take the attack to the opposition. I think he'll really take it on the opposition and come out with, if he can play his brand of cricket. Rassie van der Dussen is so important to me from a mentality perspective, though, and consistency. So it makes it difficult for that. If I was picking short term, I would go Rassie. Like if I was just thinking about now, I would say Rassie. But if I'm thinking about future, if I'm thinking about getting a good game plan, game time under his belt for the future of South African cricket, for the test arena, I feel that Ryan Rickleton is the best option right now. And also the form that he's bringing in from county cricket. He's played red ball cricket, whereas the rest have only been playing white ball.
Yeah.
Or no cricket at all.
His form has been frightening. I mean, on Northant's debut, goes and scores a ton. I then go to Wantage Road to watch Warwickshire Northants. He goes and scores another ton. So Rickleton, he has got used to English conditions. Fair enough, he's only played 4 games, but as I mentioned, 439 runs, a 77 average. He has to play. And for that reason, I would be quite fearful of him from an English perspective because, as you've rightfully said there, Harlid, he can actually produce that proactive innings, can't he? He can take the attack to those England bowlers. In particular, the rawer recruits. So if we are playing a Matt Potts, for example, or Ollie Robinson, who's just come back from a load of injury problems, if Rickleton can get on top of one of those two guys, or indeed Jack Leach will be the spin bowler, who has been getting some tap from left-handers in the past, think Rishabh Pant for one example, he could be the game changer for South Africa. In terms of how we would get him out, again, I'm not entirely sure because county attacks are struggling. But we do have one secret weapon against left-handers, certain Stuart Broad, who has got an outstanding record against left-handed batters. So that'd be my philosophy. If Ryan Rickleton is in there, as soon as he comes to the crease, Stuart Broad, get him out.
And that scares me because we have 2 left-handers on the top of the order, and that's the most important part of our whole innings. Mm-hmm. So Werner, what are you going to do with regards to that lineup, particularly batting?
Yeah, it is tricky, and I have thought about that 2 left-hander issue against Broad with the new ball, especially Elgar. Though let's hope he has one of those series again where he just plays and misses until the captains get so frustrated that he just edges everything through the slip cordon and he goes about his business. But yeah, I would definitely play Ryan Rickleton. I'd bat him at 4. Really, I'd go Keegan Peterson 3, Rickleton 4. And then Markram 5, and then you can choose if you want to go the 7 batter route, then either Rassie or Zondo at 6, and Calverin at 7. I think it's a tricky one because I'd love to play Rassie for his experience and everything he brings, but he hasn't really cemented his spots, and he still frustrates me at times with his approach. It feels like I think if the Rassie with a positive mindset comes out, then I play him. And that's the same kind of feeling I have towards him in the T20 format. If a positive Rassie comes there, I'd play him, and then I wouldn't worry too much about Riley Rousseau, though Riley Rousseau is an exceptional T20 player. But if it's the Rassie that takes 20 balls to get going in T20s, that is, then I'd rather go with Riley. So in test matches, if it's the Rassie that comes in and looks to just be a bit proactive, positive, look for the boundary options, not just play out 20 dot balls, then get a single or a two, and then play out another 10 dot balls, then I'm fine with it. If he can be a bit more proactive, then I'd have him in there as well. I'd probably go with the 7 batters. I don't like it. I prefer to have 6 batters and an all rounder and the other bowlers. But it it's a struggle. If we had a proper all rounder, let's say we had Vian Mulder batting like he did for Leicester in the last month, right? Scoring double hundreds and big centuries, and we'd have him at 7, and we know he's gonna score us plenty of runs there, then that's fine. But having Janssen at 7 feels a bit dodgy. He's good with the bat and he can contribute, but I don't back him to score solid runs every time coming in at 7. And our top order have been known to lose 3 or 4 wickets within the first session of play. So it makes it very, very tricky. So I'd probably err on the safer side and play the 7 batters and hope our 4 bowlers are good enough to take 20 wickets between them.
It's a pity we're talking about Rassie. It's a pity that we don't know what Rassie is going to come to the middle, which one is going to come to the middle. So we can't, as the coaches and as the selectors, they obviously can't take that into consideration, because you don't know if the positive Rassie is going to come out or the conservative Rassie is going to come out. It's crazy how he's fallen out of favor with so many fans. Actually, recent times, over the last couple of months, I think it happened. Even with regards to I was surprised with the awards that he never picked up the ODI award. That was crazy, and I couldn't understand that. So it looks like he has fallen out of a little bit of favor. I see there we go. Lawrence is saying it now in the chat as well. How has Rassie fallen out of favor when it comes to selection this tour? It's a ridiculous part. Apart from Temba Bavuma and Alga, no other batters have made runs in tests. Let's not get it twisted. And I think what's made it difficult as well is Aiden's form. If Aiden wasn't in form and didn't put in runs against the Lions, and there wasn't talk about him coming back into the team, I don't think that they would have been I don't think they would have picked Aiden, to be honest. I would think they would have gone with Rassie.
One question about that, Harlid. You mentioned Aiden's in form. That's one big knock. The 88 not out.
No, I mean,
right.
when I say in form, I mean across formats. I'm talking about the fact that he's getting, because for Aiden, for me, it's not a matter of being in form per format, because he gets himself out. So for me, Aiden Markram is a type of guy that if he's mentally ready and in the right frame of mind, it kind of carries him through all formats. I've seen this domestically with him. When he's out of form, it doesn't matter what the format is, he's crap. He struggles. He'll struggle with one day T20, doesn't matter, first class cricket, he tends to struggle if he's out of form. Right? But when he's in form in a specific thing, it kind of carries over for him. And it happened for him now in the one days. He carried over his form from the T20s into the one days. And now we're talking about him back into the one day team possibly. And then that form carried over from him into this warm-up game. And he's currently generally in form. So also showing it with a ball as well. So that's how I look at Aiden differently to maybe someone else that needs to play himself into form, like a Dean Alga. I feel like Dean Alga is the type of player that when he's in form in a particular thing, it's difficult to stop him. He gets on a roll. And you have to get him out. And rather than him getting himself out, you have to actually get him out. Do deliveries, whatever the case may be, to get him out. And that's my assumption between the two and my analysis of the two with regards to that. Markram is a difficult one because we were talking about Markram and Rassie. They were together on this IPL excursion. So when it comes to the two of them, we let go of them because, or not let go of them, but they said they needed to work their way back into the team. That was the message from Dean Alga originally. Now it seems like that's not the same mentality that they have. The fact that they played him in the warm-up in that position, I think tells a bigger story than we actually realize.
But for you, Holly, and actually, Werner, get yourself into this as well, bro. But is Markram are guaranteed for this series when you look at his test form? Because last year he averaged, what, 34.6, something like that.
Not based on his form, I don't think.
Right, but this year he's averaging 16. Rassi
You know,
last year averaged 37, and this year is averaging 28. And you mentioned about mentality. He does have that grit and character. Is Markram a guaranteed for this series?
I don't think it is, and I personally wouldn't have said that he would make my 11. But the fact that Timba Bavuma dropped out makes it slightly opens the door for him now, to potentially. And I'm thinking of the point of view that the only reason I would play him is if he plays a bit more of a attacking brand.
Attacking role,
He,
yeah.
he doesn't have to go at a strike rate of 120. He doesn't have to be Johnny Bairstow of the last couple of series. But we can get bogged down sometimes in the top of the order between Algar, Arvia. He can be distant to some degree. And it feels like we need somebody to just bring some impetus in the middle order just to get things rolling again if we were stuck a bit. Because if we're 70 for 3 after 40 overs, we're not getting anywhere and it isn't helping our cause. So I'd rather have somebody to come in and be a bit proactive. But we do have Ryan Rickleton that can do that. Kyle Rayner can as well. So I would be fine with Rassi playing ahead of Markram. And I would say, yes, definitely. But even Rassi hasn't really gone on and done in Test match cricket that he's done in the other formats. It's been kind of a similar sort of problem that Markram has had. Rassi has looked a bit more consistent, but I think he's probably still averaging about what Markram is averaging over his career. And he hasn't scored 100 yet. So it's a tricky one. I feel like Rassi is a good player, and I think it's just also a mindset sort of thing. And he can play the long game. But yeah, so it's a toss up for me, really. I would, before this, if Temba wasn't injured, I'd say Markram would have no chance of playing, and I would play Ryan Rickleton ahead of him, definitely. But now that there's extra spots open, especially with the fact that there is potential to play 7 batters, I think he will probably make one of those slots. And seeing that he can technically provide a couple of overs with the ball, though I don't want people to expect him to take 6 wickets against England in an innings, except if they are also 600 runs and going for broke. So it's a really tricky one with Markram. I like the guy and I think he has all the talent in the world, but he has been extremely frustrating in tests. He's been frustrating in ODIs as well, but in tests of late, definitely it has been frustrating. So we'll see what they do end up doing. I hope that if he does get the chance, that he can finally get back to what he was doing against Australia at the beginning of his career, be that type of free-flowing batter, not getting too much in his head, just backing himself.
Can I just ask a very quick question? And actually, again, it's to the pair of you. Right, because I've been listening throughout the entire show, and I'm hearing the words free-flowing, aggressive, proactive. Is Bazball having an impact on your selections? Have South Africa fallen victim to the mind games associated with England's philosophy? Because they are ahead of England at the moment in the World Test Championship. They've won more series than England. They have been a lot more successful in recent times. And then this Red Bull revolution has taken place. And all of a sudden, South Africa are having to change their philosophies, their ideas, in order to counteract this revolutionary idea of England's. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't think they are going to change a thing. I think they're just going to play the way that they play. I don't see them changing anything.
Hashtag Bouchball.
Yeah, that whole thing. I don't think they're gonna change anything. The way they approach, they'll play their own game. They won't go after trying to play the way that England has played. And I don't think England's approach. I've heard the question asked in the media, and I don't think it's something that can work across conditions. I think the pitches have been pretty flat in the last innings in all the test matches that they've played, which has made it easier to take that type of approach. Because if the ball's not moving around, you can play an ODI type of game, right? But if the ball's moving around off the wicket, or if the ball is some are staying low, some are going up high, then that makes it a lot more difficult. So I do think they will find it a lot more difficult to take that type of approach. when the conditions aren't quite as suitable. But I do like the approach when the conditions are as flat as that, to put pressure back on the bowlers. I think that's sometimes where South Africa do lack a bit. They don't really, when they are in front, they don't really go for it and
Go for the
really
kill.
push the opposition. They don't go for the kill, as Khalid says, and it feels like we generally we start on the back foot, waiting for the opposition to come for us before we start really getting into the game, which is a frustrating part of cricket for the Proteas in general. So I think it's a good thing. At least we've had this warm up game, because we see how it went there. I know it's just a warm up game, but it still feels like, okay, there was some rust that they had to shake off. And we didn't, for example, get that opportunity in New Zealand. So we went straight into that first match. We lost it horribly, and then we beat them quite comprehensively in the second match. And it feels like we generally do start off slowly, but maybe with this warm-up game, it does give us something to work off, and hopefully we will start off a bit better. But no, to answer your question, I don't think we will take the England type of approach, or feel that it's necessary to take that type of approach. Maybe some of the guys feel inspired to take some more risks in some of the sessions, maybe put some more pressure on Leach. That could be play some reverse sweep, and we know Ryan Rickleton got off the mark playing a reverse sweep, so you could see him doing that type of thing.
I mean, ideally, I would like an 11, a 7 or a 6, the top 6, where everybody's adaptable. Everybody can adapt the game, either put their heels in and get stuck in, or an attack like a Besto, for example. I wish we had 1 to 6 that were adaptable like that. I do feel that South Africans, generally speaking, probably have a head start with regards to becoming that type of cricketer, with regards to the different types of conditions that we play with locally. It allows you to become a little bit more adaptable. And we've got flat tracks, we've got swinging wickets, we've got spinning, a little bit spinner friendly wickets too. We've got different types of conditions in South Africa, and to grow that, I think that should be the focus on the pipeline, is to try and grow these adaptable cricketers that can adjust and be smart. And that's something that they've tried to instill within the under 19 setup. When I spoke to Shukri Conrad and regionally when he took over the job, he spoke about that, about teaching these players how to think about cricket differently, playing smarter cricket, where they are looking at the conditions and assessing the game and changing. That's what the word. Because I asked from the beginning, what do they mean by smart? We keep hearing the smart aggressive. And I asked them that, and I asked Shukri that, because he was speaking about it too, and he said it's about being able to look at the conditions and adapting your game plan accordingly and adapting towards conditions. And I like that, because I do believe that the conditions determine the way you play. You guys are maybe saying something else right now, saying that there's another way, and that is the obstacle is the way, and to get right, go through it. No matter what the conditions are, we'll see where it works in this particular match. I think conditions are going to play a part in this match a lot, because I feel that South Africa have the bowlers to be able to get the best out of majority of conditions that you can find. I think with the full fit squad of bowling, of the bowlers, especially with Simon Harmer, Keshav Maharaj, with the spinning options as well. I feel right through from Lutusa Pamla, with regards to his ability to be able to put it on a spot continuously and be consistent. You've got the pace of Andrik Nokia, you've got the skill and pace of KG, you've got the steep bounce and the consistency of Lungi Ngidi, and the versatility of being able to switch things around, slower deliveries, all of those things, cutters and all of that, keeping batters stuck in the crease. All of those type of things we have available to us at the moment. Clayton Stearman, very good with the new ball, something that we're not speaking about. I don't feel that he's been utilized enough to his strengths when he's gotten the opportunity. For me, Clayton Stearman is a new ball bowler. The ball moves around. He strikes in his first spell. Second spells are very difficult for him. It's been consistent like that for him in domestic cricket for years. He normally gets a 3-4, 2-4 in his first spell, and second spell he slows up when the ball is not new and not moving around, and it's older. So we've got all these weapons. We've got at our disposal. We would have had everything if we had Dwan Olivier in the mix. We also have Marco Jansen with a left arm option. So I think we are, in the bowling department, we are sorted. But you're coming up against experience. We've got Jimmy, we've got Broad, we've got guys that are experienced, that know how to move that ball around, plus some young speedsters that you guys have in the mix too. So it's a dangerous attack. And it's also an attack that can be very difficult for South Africa to play against. We saw in South Africa we struggled. Moving balls, the moving new ball has been a proper problem for us. And why it's even more of a problem because if the new ball is nipping around and we lose our openers, our middle order struggles against that new ball too. So it's not like you have someone that's going to come in and he's going to be a little bit more assured. So I'm hoping that Keegan Peterson is going to be so pivotal and Cyril Earvier for me. I think Dean Alga is a given because Dean Alga, we know what we're going to get with him, but we need him to come to the party. And it's time now that he scores another big 100 again. I want to see another season of him where he goes to 1,000 runs. That was when Dean was in his peak. And I want to see that Dean back again. He's been getting these gritty 50s here and there, but I want to see him push on and score those 100s because it's very important for the rest of the lineup. But let's get into the final thoughts here, guys. Your selection, what you think is going to happen. We start with Aaron, your selection, and what you think is going to happen in this test match, and then Werner can start. Werner, you can go with you.
Well, I say we go with Werner first because he's the South African. Because I just want to add on a little bit about England as well. That's why.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's go with Werner first.
All right. I think this is probably one of the more difficult 11s to choose. I go Algar, Arvia, Keegan Peterson, Ryan Rickleton, Aiden Markram.
Here we go. It's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah. Do we go 7 batters or
7?
do we go? Let's shift it up. Let's say 6 Verena, 7 Janssen, 8 Harmer, 9 Keshav.
2 spinners at Lords.
KG. Sorry?
2 spinners at Lords.
You're right. This is Lords. It's probably not a great idea. But somewhere along the line in the series, I'd like to see both of them play. But that's a good point. This is Lords. We probably shouldn't be playing 2. We need to use that slope.
I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't complain as an England
slope,
fan.
So okay, no, that's fair enough. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think we'll need that extra batter. So I'll go 6 Rassi, 7 Kyle Verena, and then 8 Keshav, 9 Rabada, 10 Norkian, 11 and Gidi.
Fair enough. I'd mostly agree with that, to be honest, Werner. But I would be tempted. Because the last time that England played with an all-seam attack at Lords, we didn't do that well. Lords is an interesting one. It really is. It lures you in with the promise of wickets for seamers. But you do need a spinner. You do need a spin bowler. And as long as the rain does keep away for at least a couple of days, especially later on towards the test, I'd want a spinner for control. So I would go with Ervia, Elgar, Peterson. Number 4 and number 5 is very difficult. I'd agree with you, Werner, but I'd just swap them around. I'd go Markram at 4, Rickleton at 5, Verena at 6, Janssen at 7, Maharaj at 8. I'd bring Harmer in later on in the series. Then at number 9, 10, 11, you've got your 3 seamers, Rabada, Norkier and Gidi. That's how I'd go.
Where are we sitting between with the Harmer and the Keshav debate here? Now that we're in England specifically,
it is really tough. I think for Old Trafford, if the weather does, stay quite nice, Old Trafford turns. It is the highest degree of spin on any English Test wicket. On average, it's 2.1 degrees in comparison to Lords, which is 1.2.
Old Trafford, I definitely play both.
2 spinners, yeah.
100%. In hindsight, actually, earlier I made some points about Harmer over Maharaj, and if it was up to me, but it's not up to me, I would actually select Harmer over Maharaj. So I'd make a slight selection change. I'd put Harmer as the spin bowler, and I do have logic, I do have rationale, I do have reasoning behind that. As I said, Maharaj is stats against England. He averages 30.25 in England, which isn't bad, but against England as an opposition, he averages 36, which is his second worst test average against any country in the format. So that's the first thing. Second thing, Simon Harmer is an absolute monster in county cricket. And yes, I'm well aware that county cricket is not test cricket, but he knows these conditions. He's played a lot against these guys in the England batting lineup, in particular, that middle order. So for that reason, He's got experience, he's got the know-how, and he's got a weight of wickets behind him. He's also in very, very good form in this year's county championship. He took 13 wickets in a single game against Gloucestershire at Chelmsford, right, just 3 matches ago. He's currently third in Division 1 of the 2022 county championship. He's behind 2 seamers who have played 2 more matches than him, the matches that he lost as a result of the South Africa-Bangladesh Test Series. So for that reason, okay, and it's just my personal opinion, if it is a case of Harmer versus Maharaj on a global scale, Keshav probably gets the nod for me. If it's Harmer versus Maharaj in England, I'm going with Simon Harmer. Just as I said, I'd go with Ryan Rickleton. You've got to pick guys who have played cricket. Harmer has been playing cricket all season long for Essex, and he's got a good record in this country. Knows the conditions like the back of his hand. He's played it since 2017. So for that reason, at least in my view, in the debates where I stand, I'm going in Simon Harmer's corner just for this series.
Do you know where the difference lies for me? It's Test cricket experience. And if you look at Maharaj in England, in the 4 matches that he has played, 17
That's
wickets.
one series, though. That's one series.
I do get that. But what I'm saying is it's 17 wickets in England I'm talking about.
But remember the weather for that series as well.
True. But I'm looking at, we need to I want to ask you about what is Harmer's record in conditions similar to Lord's? From your perspective, from what
Pretty
you've seen.
good. There's only one county that he has not taken 4th innings wickets against, and that's Warwickshire. I don't know how we managed to do it because we're terrible at batting, but he's got a really bad record against Warwickshire. Everybody else, he scythes through. It doesn't matter whether it's on a wicket like Lord's, it doesn't matter whether it's in Chelmsford where there is a bit of turn, or Edgbaston, or, I mean, as I said, that game against Gloucestershire, that wasn't at the height of the heat wave. There wasn't a load of turn on offer, and yet he gets the ball talking. So for that reason, Harmer's not playing on bunts and burners every single week. Okay, he's not playing every single game in Chelmsford and Taunton. And this is the other thing as well. This is an incredible stat when it comes to Simon Harmer. Since his debut in 2017, only one other spin bowler has taken a 5-wicket haul in Chelmsford in the entire county circuit. One bowler in 6 seasons. Does that not say it all?
It can, but I mean, the time that Keshav spent in England was also pretty decent in a short space of time. The amount of
True for Yorkshire, it was. But again, height of the summer. I mean, they were playing at the exact same time. Harmer took more wickets. That was in 2019, wasn't it?
There isn't Alamzai has been saying this for quite some time. He believes Harmer is light years ahead of Keshav Maharaj. And I'm always going to take the international bowler side. 150 Test wickets is not a joke. So for me to make a statement like this, I would have to see Harmer play at least 3-4 series before I can start making that assumption. But I know it's in England, and I know that experience, and that is tempting me. It really is. I'm not going to lie. I'm tempted. But 150 Test wickets, best South Africa's best spinner of all time, in my opinion.
He did just win the Test Player of the Year as well, didn't he?
Test Player of the Year. I mean, I've seen
Player
Maharaj
of
do
the
it
Year,
on
not just Test Player of the Year.
Yeah. Sorry, South African Player of the Year. So I don't know, man. That's a tough one for me because I know that Harmer is going to add value, and we know that he's done it in England. But international cricket is not county cricket for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's
no matter how much I look at it, because if you look at a guy like Vian Mulder, can't get runs in domestic cricket. Like, he struggles to get runs in domestic cricket, but he goes to England and 200s like out of nowhere, and I'm like, wow, okay, crazy. The consistency that Ryan Rickleton's getting in county cricket, he can't get in domestic cricket. He scores runs, and he's scored a lot of runs, but consecutively like that. Score so many hundreds in a row. I don't know. It starts to make me think. And then when I spoke to ex-players, etc., that has been to England, no offense, I know you love your county game, and I'm not trying to dismiss you, try to diss the county game, but I mean, from the experts that I've spoken to, because there's obviously going to be this argument between the two. What is better, our domestic cricket or your domestic cricket, county cricket versus the rest of the world? That's always going to be there, because county cricket is considered the best domestic first-class cricket in the world, from what I've heard. But when I listen to ex-players saying, like for example, Ashwell Prince saying that I was 40 and I scored hundreds there with ease, like that starts to
That's
make me
Division
think.
2, though.
So that's what I want to know, the difference and the between the two. How much do we have to read into that specifically? If you're playing Division 2, Division 1, also with regards to the level of bowlers, do you guys have a standard of bowlers that across the country is of a level?
Yes,
do you
the Lions
honestly
have just
believe
shown that. The Lions have just shown that. Sam Connors rocking up and taking forfeit. Sam Cook's another one. I mean, you look at Test cricket. I mean, this is the thing with county cricket. Fair enough, the batting hasn't been great, but you can't deny the value of county cricket for bowlers. Jamie Overton's come straight into Test cricket, achieved good things, as has Matty Potts, as has Ollie Robinson, as did Chris Wokes back in 2013. The fact is, county cricket is producing good seam bowlers. Now, in terms of the whole debate, that Ashwell Prince, I mean, the statement, anecdote, what would you call that, Harlid? That you've just told me, tidbit of information, right? That a few years ago would have been very valid because there was a massive disparity between Division 1 and Division 2. The best players always played in Division 1. In recent years, though, that gap has massively changed. Jimmy Anderson played in Division 2. Stuart Broad played in Division 2. Potts, Stokes, Lees, all of these guys played in Division 2. So the gap has definitely closed in that regard. So I don't think there is that same, oh, it's only county cricket and they're scoring runs for fun anymore. I think that has massively changed. Marnus Labuschagne is a Division 2 cricketer, right? There are some excellent players in Division 2 of the county circuit. The key thing here, though, in this whole argument about when it comes to county performances and all this, that, the other, is county cricket good enough? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay? That's all that I have to say. Harmer is good enough to play Test cricket. Ryan Rickleton is good enough to play Test cricket. And if you play them in this series, I guarantee they'll do well.
Says the host of the County Cricket Podcast.
Yes, I know. Incredibly unbiased and neutral as ever. But
So
one thing that does actually stand in your favour, I must say as well, for the first time in 3 series, England do not have a Warwickshire bowler in their squad. So the last time that happened, South Africa won the series.
So let's see what happens.
England
look,
2-1.
I'm not going to be upset if they go with either or between the two. And like, I'm not necessarily going to be upset about it. I just, I don't know, 150 wickets Test cricket, the weighs more for me currently. But I mean,
player of the year on Sunday, dropped on Wednesday.
Okay, guys, let's wrap this up. Okay, I believe that the first test is going to be a draw. Okay, so that's what I'm going with.
All of that.
If we go by weather, we'll say it's a draw.
Yeah, we go by
an hour and 22. I apologise to each and every single person who has tuned into today's show. An hour and 22 to say it's going to be a draw because of the weather. Brilliant.
Yeah, experts we are.
Experts.
World leading.
Okay.
Oh my
God. So that's what we have to come to. I mean, I guess we spoke about all the ways that South Africa could possibly win the match. England could. I think we've gotten in depth with everything. We heard Boucher's comments. We've heard everything. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in on this preview. Thanks a lot, Aaron, for coming on the show. Thanks a lot, Werner, also for joining us. I hope that South Africa do get a victory in this match, and we see a full match and we win this one. It will set us off. I think it will make everybody a lot more calmer. From a fan's perspective, everybody will just feel a lot more calm if we can get a victory at Lord's. I mean, Lord's is a ground that we've seemed to be doing quite well in the last couple of years that we've been there. So only one out of I think it was one match lost, one draw.
Yeah, in the last 5. Yeah,
in the last 5. Yeah, so good performance from South Africa in that perspective. But let's see, England. You didn't give your England lineup, Aaron. If you would like to, the fans are asking for it.
Just very, very quickly, I did see that from Wasim. Top 7 picks itself: Crawley, Lees, Pope at 3, Root at 4, Best at 5, Stokes at 6, Folks at 7. In terms of the bowlers, I would go with Jack Leach in this particular Test match. So he'd be in there. I'd go Anderson and Broad. And then in terms of the bowler, that other seam option's an interesting one. I think I would go with Craig Overton at the moment, just for a little bit more batting at Lord's. But after that, if Ollie Robinson is back to full fitness, I'd go with him for the rest of the series.
Cool. Thanks a lot, guys. we'll see you guys tomorrow with another daily show. I think there is going to be some either press conference or something for the media or video for the media. So we'll have some comments from a player from South Africa's point of view, I think. Then we'll do a reaction to that and give you guys some updates about anything else that we find out about the test, etc. And we'll talk a little bit more. But this is our preview, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Please share it with everybody and smash the like button and comment and share. And also subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly as well. It's 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. The link is in the description. So please go ahead and do all of those things, guys. Looking forward to this. We're going to be covering this test quite in depth at the moment. We're going to be having a lot of articles coming out, some different fresh ideas that will also be coming to the fore as well. So please stay tuned to cricketfanaticsmag.com because we'll be doing 2 reports, lunch report and final report. We don't do the tea report. We normally just give you an update on the tea report. It's very short turnover. And it's not a piece that really does well on our website. So we don't really do that. Other places will give you a tea report and waste their time doing that. But me personally, on our channel, we won't do that. So we'll be doing a lunch and a final report. We'll also be doing press conferences with regards to the quotes pieces that we'll have after the game. We'll also have player profiles that will happen before each test, as well as trying to get expert analysis and opinions after every single test, as well as a reflection from someone that will be in England as well. So stay tuned to our channel. We're going to be producing a lot. Plus these shows, we'll be doing a daily show, review shows after every single day. We'll try to pull Aaron on board as much as we can. But I hope that at least for the final day of each test, he'll be here. So, and for the previews, of course. But yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in. And see you guys very soon. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Aaron and Werner. Have a great evening, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.